December 26, 1996. A phone call comes into the local 911 dispatch center from a house nestled in one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 5515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
The voice on the other end belongs to Patsy Ramsey. We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Officers are dispatched immediately to the Ramsey house, located at 755 15th Street. Police begin a preliminary inspection. There are no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no damaged locks, no pry marks on the doors, but a very strange 3-page ransom note. Patsy tells them she woke up early, came downstairs, and found it lying on the back staircase. The note asks for a very precise sum, $118,000. That figure isn't random. It matches almost exactly the Christmas bonus John Ramsey had recently received from his company. And for now, that's all they have. At 5:30 a.m., Patsy Ramsey woke up in her home. She got out of bed, walked down the back staircase, and noticed something on the steps. It was a stack of papers, 3 handwritten pages laid out on one of the wooden stairs. The pages were not folded, not tucked away, just sitting there in plain view. She didn't go to her daughter's room. She didn't check if Jonbenet was in bed. Instead, she picked up the note, read part of it, and ran to the phone. At 5:52 a.m., she called 911 to report that her daughter had been kidnapped. Officers arrived within minutes. Inside the home, they were handed the note, a ransom letter unlike anything they'd ever seen. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account, $100,000 in $100 bills, the remaining $18,000 in 20s. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. Speaking to anyone about your situation, police, FBI, anyone, will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If the money is marked or tampered with, she dies. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around. Don't underestimate us, John. Victory, SBTC. The letter was written on a notepad from inside the house. The pen was found in the kitchen. It wasn't typed. It wasn't hurried. Someone sat down inside the home and wrote 3 full pages while the family was sleeping. Despite the threats in the letter, no attempt was made to collect the ransom. No phone call ever came, no further instructions, nothing. The signature, Victory, SBTC, has never been explained. No person or group ever claimed responsibility. No motive was ever identified. And to this day, no one knows who wrote the note. When police first arrived at the Ramsey home, they treated it as a kidnapping. Standard protocol: secure the house, gather statements, wait for the ransom call. But within the first hour, something felt off. There were no signs of forced entry. The doors were locked, no broken windows. The house appeared undisturbed. Officer Rick French searched the house for clues. He went room to room, then made his way into the basement. There, he noticed a small wooden door. It was shut tight, with a latch on the inside. He figured no one had gone in or out, so he left it alone. At 8 a.m., Detective Linda Arndt arrived at the scene. She was told to wait for contact from the kidnappers. Hours passed. No call ever came. Patsy had called more than just the police. Friends, neighbors, the minister, all were allowed inside the home. Some began cleaning. Others comforted the family. Only Jonbenet's bedroom was taped off. The rest of the house remained open. By mid-morning, investigators began noticing strange behavior. Patsy was still in the same clothes from the night before. John had moved in and out of rooms. Burke, the 9-year-old son, stayed upstairs with a friend. Questions were met with vague answers. The lawyer was already present. The ransom note, 3 pages long, had been written using pen and paper from inside the house. By 1 p.m., 7 hours had passed. Still no call, no follow-up, nothing. Detective Arndt asked John Ramsey to search the house again, just to see if anything seemed out of place. They went to the basement. This time, John opened the door Officer French had ignored earlier. Inside the small, dark room, they found something that changed the investigation. This was no longer a kidnapping. It was a homicide. There were officers on the scene that morning, but not many inside. One stayed outside to guard the front, another left after the first walkthrough. By mid-morning, Linda Arndt was the only detective inside the house. For over 5 hours, she was alone. A few minutes later, John called out. Then footsteps, then silence. He came up from the basement, holding his daughter, wrapped in a white blanket. Her mouth was taped, a nylon cord around her neck and wrists. He laid her on the floor near the Christmas tree. Arndt didn't move at first. She was processing. She put her hand on her gun, believing the killer might still be inside the house. John laid the body on the floor near the Christmas tree. She was wearing long underwear and white panties, stained with urine and blood. A red heart had been drawn on her hand. She wore a knit shirt, a cross necklace, and a bracelet with her name on it. The date read 12/25/96, the day she died. Linda Arndt called for backup, but by then, the scene had already been disturbed. The basement had been missed. The body had been moved, touched, carried, laid down again. Critical evidence was gone. No one had guarded the scene. Too many people had walked through. Too many things had been touched. Jonbenet was officially declared dead at the scene. A search warrant was issued later that evening, but the damage had been done. It was supposed to be a kidnapping. Now, it was a murder. And the one piece of evidence that could have told the full story had already been compromised. The next day, an autopsy was performed. Jonbenet Ramsey, 6 years old. She had 2 major injuries. She was hit on the head, and she was strangled. Her skull was cracked, a long fracture, about 8.5 inches. The hit likely knocked her out, but didn't kill her right away. Around her neck was a nylon cord. It had been tied to a stick, part of a paintbrush. The other part of the brush was missing. The stick was used to tighten the cord. The same cord was tied around her wrists. There were signs of sexual injury, but no semen, no foreign hairs, no fingerprints. The area looked like it had been wiped clean. In her stomach, the coroner found pineapple. Not fully digested, meaning she ate it not long before she died. Neither parent said they gave it to her. A bowl of pineapple was found in the kitchen, and Patsy's fingerprints were on the bowl. The time of death was estimated between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. It was unclear which came first, the blow to the head or the strangulation. What they did know, Jonbenet died slowly and painfully. After Jonbenet's death, theories started to form. The ransom note, the strange crime scene, the lack of forced entry, it all felt staged. And behind it all, some believed there was one person the story kept circling back to: Burke, Jonbenet's 9-year-old brother. Sometime after 10 p.m., Jonbenet was awake. She went to the kitchen. Burke was already sitting at the table with a bowl of pineapple. A large flashlight sat on the counter. Jonbenet took a piece from the bowl, and that made Burke angry. Without a word, he picked up the flashlight and hit her. The blow landed on the side of her head. She fell to the floor. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. Her skull was fractured, over 8 inches. John and Patsy were alerted. They found her unresponsive. They didn't call for help. Instead, they took her to the basement. They tied her wrists with a nylon cord. They looped the same cord around her neck. They fashioned a garrote using part of Patsy's paintbrush. She was strangled. They placed duct tape over her mouth. They wrapped her in a white blanket. They wiped her body clean. Then they wrote the ransom note, 3 pages, written with a pen and notepad inside the house. They asked for $118,000, the exact amount of John's holiday bonus. The note was placed on the back stairs, where Patsy would find it. She never went to Jonbenet's room. She read part of the note and called 911. By the time the police had arrived, the story had already been set in motion. Jonbenet was gone. The scene had been staged. This theory is not a confession. It's not a proven account, but it's built on very real details. When investigators enhanced Patsy's 911 call, they said they could hear a child's voice in the background. Asking, "What did you find?" That child wasn't supposed to be awake. Parents told the police Burke was sleeping at the time. In the weeks that followed, Detective Steve Thomas was brought into the case. Unlike Arndt, he wasn't inside the house that day. He was one of the first to review every report, transcript, and evidence file. He focused on the ransom note. It was over 370 words. The tone of the note was odd. It referenced movies like Dirty Harry and Speed. It asked for $118,000, the exact amount of John Ramsey's Christmas bonus. Not a round number, not a demand for millions. A very personal number. Handwriting experts couldn't say Patsy wrote it, but they couldn't rule her out either. Some believed her writing was highly indicative of authorship. Then came the interviews. The Ramseys refused to sit for formal interviews for weeks. They communicated through lawyers. When they finally agreed, they insisted on being interviewed together. The police wanted them to separate. They declined. Steve Thomas pressed the department to treat the family as suspects. They resisted, but eventually, the DA allowed a grand jury to convene. But the DA, Alex Hunter, declined to prosecute. He said the evidence wasn't strong enough to secure a conviction. That indictment was sealed for years. It wasn't revealed until 2013. Thomas was furious. He believed the case had been mishandled from the beginning. He eventually resigned from the force and wrote a book, detailing how the evidence pointed back to the family. Inside the department, not everyone agreed, but by early 1997, the suspicion was clear. This didn't look like a break-in, it didn't feel like a kidnapping, and the only people in the house that night were the Ramsays. That's where the trail was pointing, but proving it, that was something else entirely. In 1997, Lou Smith joined the case. A seasoned homicide detective with decades of experience, he was brought in by the district attorney's office. Unlike the Boulder police, Lou didn't believe the Ramsays were guilty. He saw something else. From the start, Lou Smith believed someone broke into the Ramsay home. He pointed to several key details that didn't fit the family theory. An unidentified boot print was found near Jonbenet's body. A pubic hair, not linked to any family member, was discovered on the blanket. There was DNA on Jonbenet's underwear from an unknown male. A basement window had been broken and left open. John Ramsey admitted breaking it months earlier, but it still could have been an entry point. A suitcase was found under the window, with fibers matching Jonbenet's clothing inside. Smith believed it may have been used to carry her body out, until the intruder got spooked. There was more. Jonbenet had been strangled with a homemade garrote, built using a cord and a piece of Patsy's paintbrush. The knots were complex, expertly tied, Smith said, like someone with training. John Ramsey was an experienced sailor, but Lou Smith saw something else in that. He believed the staging was too elaborate, too cold, too calculated. He didn't think grieving parents could pull that off, especially not in the middle of the night. Meanwhile, the police stuck with the family theory. They argued there was no real evidence of a break-in, no mud tracked into the house, no signs of forced entry. Cobwebs were still intact around the basement window. And then, quietly, they voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsay on charges of child abuse resulting in death. But the district attorney, Alex Hunter, refused to prosecute. He said the evidence wasn't enough. The indictment was sealed for a decade. In 2003, a breakthrough. Forensic testing of Jonbenet's underwear uncovered foreign male DNA. It didn't match John, Patsy, or Burke. The DNA was later found in multiple locations on her clothing. In 2008, Boulder's district attorney publicly exonerated the Ramsay family. The statement was clear. Based on the DNA, the Ramsays are no longer under suspicion. But some questioned that move. Experts warned the DNA could have been contaminated from manufacturing or handling. Former police chief Mark Beckner said it wasn't necessarily from the killer, and critics believe the Ramsays had still not been fully cleared. Public opinion remained divided. The case was a media storm from the start. Jonbenet's pageant photos were everywhere. News anchors debated the evidence like courtroom attorneys. Books, documentaries, interviews, all dissecting what happened that night. In 2016, a CBS documentary theorized that Burke Ramsay may have killed his sister accidentally and the parents covered it up. Burke filed a $750 million defamation lawsuit. It was later settled out of court. Over the years, dozens of suspects were tested. No match, no arrest, no confession. As of today, the case remains open. New technology may still lead to a breakthrough. The Boulder police say they're still investigating. Lou Smith died in 2010, but before he passed, he recorded hours of videos outlining why he believed the Ramsays were innocent. He ended with one message: do not give up. The killer is out there. And that's the story. A little girl murdered on Christmas night. A family shattered. A community divided. An investigation that may have gone in the wrong direction from the start. Countless theories, no charges, and one haunting truth: Jonbenet Ramsay never saw 1997.